Yo, 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 yo. Oh, you know what? I don't even have chat open. Not like anyone's ever there, but
Don't worry, no one said anything yet.
you know. In case one of our moms decides to say hi or something. All right.
My mom still doesn't know I'm on a podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Still don't know what it's about. That's for sure. Like, so you talk about video games? Like, yes, sure. Why not? Sometimes. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to episode 363 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Philly Esports. And this is going to be the best episode ever because for the first time in a long time, I feel like we have a championship Sunday. It's been a while since we got to do one, especially one including a CSGO major. So we will recap everything there. We should hopefully be having Kevin on to talk some Worlds. Also, the worst rumor kept ever, the OpTic Texas news has officially been announced, so we'll talk that, as well as some e-news and yikes of the week. But before we get to that, let me tell you about Philly Esports. Good dudes have been on the show. Adam is in our Discord, founder of Philly Esports. They are where you need to start looking at to build your esports career, whether you want to be a professional player, whether you're just, a dude hanging out with some friends who want to compete, want to scratch that itch. You can do that with Philly Esports. Go to phillyesports.gg. Signups are always free. You can win cash prize pools, though, so get that. You pay nothing, you win money. It's that simple. phillyesports.gg. They have one coming up here very soon, so I would go and sign up for it. But November 13th is their $10,000 that is Legend Series 3v3 Rocket League, hosted by the U.S. Army. Go ahead and sign up. That's a $2,000 prize pool for this event. 3v3 Rocket League. So get your buddies together. phillyesports.gg.
Hey, it's Simple from Navi, and you're listening GCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast presented by Philly Esports. Episode 363 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, November 8th, 2021. The time, 8:51 p.m. in the time of year where it gets dark earlier. So I think that's daylight savings?
Yeah.
Right?
Saving some of that daylight.
Never know whenever that is. So it is daylight savings. So it's the good time of year for some of us. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring and join our Discord. Be a part of the conversation and all that fun stuff. My name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports, and alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
Coming off the high of the major, Tim. Finding a way to recoup, regather, and reset for 2021 or 2022 now.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because that is really where we're at now with Counter-Strike. Like, we waited so long for the major, and we'll talk about the major, obviously, in full. But, like, you had all this hype up for it. Like, you almost didn't care about the Counter-Strike previous because you just knew this major was coming up. And now it's gone.
We waited so long, and it's like all that hype, and it's just came and it went, and
now
it delivered. It delivered.
Now we're in the essentially what would be considered the off-season for Counter-Strike. I don't think there's anything really else. Maybe a blast event here and there.
The off season started, what, a day before the final? finished. Like
Well-
major moves were announced pretty quickly.
Yeah, because no more locks were in place, right? Like you
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about those RMR points. You do have IEM Winter is in December 2nd through the 12th. And then days after that, you have the Blast Premier World Final.
And that's major-esque, right? Although
Right.
it's not obviously not a major, that is a lot on the line for that event. So
And the good news is with that is, like you said, with some of these late roster moves, maybe we see some teams that get in and maybe see a little preview before the official year end. Especially, it looks like at IEM Winter, we'll have a lot of teams there. So either way, though, we don't have to worry about that just yet because we did have the major, which we will recap in just a moment. But before we get to that, let's knock out some yikes of the week because we have a packed show. Kevin will be here any moment as well. So, Anuj, let's start with some yikes of the week. I will, oddly enough, very CS heavy. CS never makes it into yikes of the week, I feel.
never.
Maybe that's just
And
favoritism.
even both of these are like slightly questionable whether it's like
No. Mine is 1,000. Might be yikes of the year.
mine has the potential to be a yikes, but it's
Let's start with
the
yours.
rumor that gets us. So mine is obviously, like as Tim mentioned, coming from CS. Tim, Brazilian CS. Brazilian CS. What do I say about it? It's slightly better than NA, but it's taken quite the dip, I would say, over the past year and a half.
Some might
right?
say a bigger dip than NA because they started higher.
Well, we were also at the top at one point now too, Tim. Let's not forget that, okay?
C9 was
So,
at the top. C9 was at the
both
top.
both of these regions have fallen. So we are seeing a resurgence potentially in the Brazilian scene. Tell me if this rings a bell. Rumors are Fallen and Colzera are in talks to build a Brazilian super team roster.
Did they forget that they don't like each other?
Well, are they on the team? If you're making a super team for Brazilian CSGO, like, are they still the best of the best, or would you just take Furious squad at this point? No, but it's like, it just seems like we're going to see some sort of rehash of a roster that we've probably seen an iteration of previously. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if an FNX name all of a sudden rumors up, or we see a Hen one sighting, which means Lucas one will be lurking somewhere in the background.
Coincidentally, that this rumor starts about they're wanting to make a team when Henny and Lucas are all of a sudden free agents again, so they'll bounce back to there. We've talked about this before, and it's not like I know like second tier, third. I don't know the farm system for Brazilian Counter-Strike, but I do know what we can see. And what we can see is that they have almost as little of a pool to pick from as NA when it comes to creating a super team. Like, Brazil is where French Counter-Strike was for a while, and arguably still is. You're recycling players left and right. Like, we're constantly seeing the same guys over and over and over again, just with different jerseys on and a slightly different lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you're getting the same in a different uniform. Like, again, they're not going to get anybody from Furia, so it can't be a super team lineup if you can't pull like a Queserado or somebody, which you're not going to do, right? Like, they're not going to leave Furia for this anyway, and even if they wanted to, they're under contract, I'm sure, for still an extended period of time. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I saw this pop up today on HLTV, and I honestly was like, again? Like, we're going to do this again? Like, your best odds are to join up with NA and find a team that works. And honestly, the Fallen on Liquid situation, I wasn't a fan of until I saw it in action, and I've kind of actually liked it. Like, yeah, sure, they underperformed in the major. I get that, and they're probably going to look to make a change. But I didn't feel like it was a terrible fit after it kind of started off pretty good. So I don't know. I just don't see this working out again. I'm not excited by this news whatsoever.
I gotta imagine it's just somewhat has to be a little homesick maybe for Fallen. I mean, I know they weren't even in Brazil when they were a Brazilian squad. They played in California, but maybe just like homesick in the sense of he wants to be around other Brazilians. Because wouldn't you think if this was the case, you would just try to get cold on Liquid?
No international team has ever won the major. for whatever that means, right? It might not mean anything, but an international lineup has never won the major. It's always been a home team type situation, right? Whether it's a full NA, full Danish, Swedish squad, Brazilian squad, it's always been like a full like home country type lineup. And
Really?
so I don't know if that, there's something to that, like there's something more to that, and then there's a reason that that is the way it is. But I see both of them having better luck on an international lineup at this point.
Yeah, like I said, I think at this point I would just try to get cold on Liquid, at least to see where that goes. Because
Yeah,
at least for Fallen's point of view, if you're on Liquid, you're at least a little bit more ahead of the curve. I don't know
you're
by how
not going to get a
much,
better
but
player than a Liege if you're fallen in cold and you're going to Brazil. Like you're not going to get somebody at Alicia's talents. Stewie, maybe like there might be some other talent out there. I think Stewie is, not to say he's fallen off, but I think we can all agree he's not the same player that
doesn't have
we've
the
been
swagger.
accustomed to seeing. Yeah, like it's not. It doesn't seem as elite as it once was, at least from my perspective. So I don't know. I would like to see Fallen and Cold if they're going to try it. Yeah, like you said, like kind of joining up on Liquid and seeing where that goes.
So we'll just have to wait and see. Like we said, with those upcoming events, maybe like that would have to be like an off-season move, because that's gathering a lot of resources and figuring things out. And are they going to start their own brand again and see how that goes? I feel like we've danced this dance before. That's kind of another thing.
We have.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like it. We have
multiple times.
multiple times. Yeah, like multiple times we've done this.
My yikes again comes from Counter-Strike, slightly from the major as well. Boomage, the Navi, somewhat rookie-ish. Everyone loves him.
In-game leader, like
in-game leader, yes. Boomage. That's not what we're talking about, though. After the major, after they won the major, spoiler alert, Navi won. This has to be, maybe like top 5 worst proposals of all time. Did you see his proposal after the major?
I did.
I have so many questions, and I want to preface this, okay? I know I look like an asshole for making fun of someone's proposal. I want it to be clear. I love, Anuj. You know me. I love, and everyone should be happy. This goes right up with me proposing to you at Disneyland when we asked someone to take our pictures in front of the castle. And I just thought that.
But at least you were getting an answer at that point.
Yeah, true. Yeah, at least you were there. And I felt like it was at least a little bit more legitimate than this one. So after the finals, Boomage is getting interviewed on stage, everything normal, and then at the tail end of the interview, I wish I had the audio, I didn't get it. He said, "Oh, by the way," he shouts out to his girlfriend. He goes, "My girlfriend," doesn't even say her name, "my girlfriend is watching back in Moscow. Will you marry me?" And like everyone's just like, "Oh my God." And I'm thinking like, that's how you did it, huh? That is your big moment.
Would have been a little bit more meaningful if she was there, but that's not the worst part, Tim.
There's so much. So first off, yes, she's not there. The worst part to me, the part that made me go, yikes, is that he's doing this right in front of James Banks, which, our condolences, his ex-wife, wife, whoever, just passed away at the start of the major. Like, a little over a week ago, the guy interviewing Boomage, his wife just passed away. The mother of his child just passed away. And Boomage is like, "Yo, hold up, James. I got one question I need to ask. Will you be my wife, Miss Girlfriend, who's watching from Moscow?"
To be fair, he probably didn't think twice about.
Of course not.
Like,
obviously, he didn't think at all because, bro,
like James is in the CS scene, but James is still like newer to the CS scene in the sense on the big stage. He's only been there a couple of years, really, and you don't probably think about like who's out there. So we'll give him a little bit of a slide, but yeah, like there's so many layers to the proposal that were not good. They cut away immediately after he asked, right? They had about 5 seconds,
Yeah.
and you could tell James was like, all right, and now back to the studio. Like, it just, maybe you give a heads up a little bit to the production side before you walk on
I
to
don't
do
think
it.
Boomich gave himself a heads up. Like, what was his plan if they lost? If they lost the major, was he still going to propose? Like, was this
no way.
was this
No
just
way.
a
What
I'm
was
on
he gonna
top
do?
of
Grab the mic from freaking Nico and be like, hold on 1 second, I have a question.
like, was he just such on top of the world he felt like this was a good moment? What if she wasn't watching at the time? Like, what if she like got up to use the restroom, or dogs barking or something? Like, that would have
She's
also
watching the Russian stream and they haven't cut to him. Like,
right. Like, what happens then? Like, I have so many questions for how this even played out. Now, apparently she did say yes.
she did. Congratulations.
If the Instagram account is his girlfriend, I have a couple things to say, Anuj. One, Boomage, as your friend, as someone who has watched you grow up as a player, there's this thing called catfish. Now, I'm not saying it is, but I just, as a friend, I need to just throw it out there, Anuj.
I'm gonna assume he's seen her in person.
There's been
He's
pictures
done
with him
very well for himself
and a
so-
girl. Listen, well, I don't care if you are a pro football player, a pro gamer. If you have pro in your career title, like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a pro insert blank. It doesn't matter what level you're on. Like, you're going to
You're
do
set.
well.
You're just set.
You're going to do well. So
Your pulling's like minimum 7/8.
minimum.
Minimum.
Like, Boomage, bravo, because hey,
Bravo, congratulations. We're happy for you. I'm glad it worked out. The timing was a little off, but hey, is it ever right in that situation,
Boomage,
Tim?
take her to a nice dinner now. Okay, that's what you got to do. You just won the major. You gave the worst wedding proposal. There was no way when this girl was a little girl in Moscow dreaming about marrying the love of her life, she thought, man, I just can't wait for him to propose to me over the internet. Not even directly at me. It wasn't like it was over a Zoom call and he was like, babe, this COVID, I haven't seen you in 2 years. I just got to ask you, will you marry me? No. It was like not even to her. He was just like, I'm just going to throw this out there. I hope you're watching. Will you marry me? The worst wedding proposal of all time. But hey, congratulations. Don't let us knock you when you're up, okay? She said yes, you won the major. You're the winner here. But damn. Do a repeat at a nice restaurant. Take her to Disney World, something. Get her a real proposal. My wife would have murdered me.
Oh yeah. Our wives would have it. We're also not 20-something living in the world that they're living in, Like, he is on the best team in the world.
We're not pro. We're not pro in anything. So that is the difference. All right, Anuj. Speaking of pro, this rumor has been bouncing around in the world of pro Call of Duty, where Envy, the parent company between Dallas Empire, were going to acquire the branding of OpTic Gaming. We've talked about it on the show, what seems like forever now, because this rumor has been going on pretty much since the moment the season ended, maybe even a little prior to that. I don't really remember when it started, but it's been the worst. It's like any time there was the slightest bit of update, that rumor got leaked. It's just been the worst kept secret in all of esports, is that Envy was purchasing and buying out OpTic as a brand. So it's been officially announced. And in fact, S Canada, one of our listeners in chat, put in our Discord a very good, it was from Reddit, but it was just a good timeline breakdown. So if you're not 100% familiar with everything, go into our Discord and look at it, because I'm not going to go over all of it, but it happened. So I just kind of want to get your thoughts and discuss, now that it's official, now that it's real.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like it's not exactly what I thought it would be. First off, like, Hex is still very much involved, it looks like, and will be part of this whole acquisition or merger, whatever they're calling it exactly. I personally, Tim, don't like it, but not because I don't think it's like a cool partnership. It's just we're losing one iconic brand in this deal. Like I know everybody's excited that we still have OpTic, but like what if you're an Envy fan, right? We're Envy fans, right? So
Mhm.
we're losing
Mhm.
the Empire branding, which mind you was by far the best branding in CDL, I thought, or
S
top
tier.
3. It was S tier for us when we did our
I
branding
think
report.
them
So we're
and
losing,
Florida might have been the only S tiers.
yeah, we're losing that. I'm going to give you my cons right now. We're losing the best branding. We are losing it being local to Dallas, which I don't think maybe that many people care about, but like we in Texas, not only does Texas act like its own state, but within Texas, we have our own territories, and you keep to your own around here. You have your Houston crowd, you have your San Antonio crowd, you have your Austin crowd, you have your Dallas crowd, and each are very different from one another. And most of the times, they are not on the same page when it comes to their fandom. I would say about 90% of the times outside of collegiate sports, right? They have all their own pro teams in these locations. And so I don't like the whole sharing is caring type thing. Like I like something kind of being unique to Dallas, the city that we live in. And then lastly, if you liked Envy, you probably, or vice versa, if you liked OpTic, you probably didn't like the other one. Like this is on par with us putting OpTic and FaZe doing a collab as a yikes. This is kind of in that same boat, right? Because these are two iconic brands that have been like opponents, like top tier opponents of one another, you know, and you could say in some cases, like this is probably the biggest rivalry in all of Call of Duty partnering up. So it's like a Yankees Red Sox kind of
Yeah.
situation. And to me, those are all really big negatives. The positive is optics staying, right? Like in the sense we're not losing the optic branding, but it seems to nobody gives a shit about the Envy branding. Like that's kind of what I take away from it. It's just we don't care if we're losing the Envy branding as long as we're not losing the optic branding.
Yeah, and I agree with you. So I'm glad that the news popped earlier today because it's kind of given us time to kind of, you know, absorb it a little bit, talk to people in Discord. Now I won't lie to you. I've been kind of rattling it around in my brain on how I feel about this. I've spoken about it in the past, and obviously my disdain for OpTic is no secret. TCR has an official TCR curse that's been on OpTic since forever. Like, I mean, probably within 20 episodes of this podcast starting, the curse has been on OpTic. And
which it obviously works. They've only won one world championship.
gone through about 3 or 4 different ownerships.
Sold to Immortals, and good luck enjoying that situation. And now here we are merging with Envy. So if you don't think this optic curse is real, the proof is in the pudding, my friends.
And
like
it's not going. I want to make the official announcement here on the show. The TCR curse on OpTic is not going anywhere. Just because now our buddy Mike, owner of Envy, friend of the show, also owns OpTic, it doesn't absolve OpTic the brand whatsoever. There's only one thing that can absolve that, and that is Hex coming on this show.
that's it.
That's what needs to happen. An apology would get a TCR blessing. Coming on the show removes the curse. An apology for what they did, which was big time me, saying that they would come on the show twice and then failed to show up. They ghosted me twice. So that's why they have the curse. That would get their blessing. So that's not going to change. They're still going to be cursed. But I also think the only thing that this makes sense to me, the only part that this makes sense, is from a business point of view. It's because Envy, the parent company, right? I don't even think you can call them an org anymore at this point. They're a parent company in this situation. Wanted OpTic the brand because they moved all of their streamers and content creators on the Envy side over to OpTic, if you notice that. So like all these streamers now are moving over to the OpTic side of things. So that's where all their brand is going to go, which
that all makes sense because we've talked about it on the show and privately about Envy's ability to promote themselves. It's not like that's not what they focus on. You could tell they're not very good at it. And OpTic, on the other hand, is king of content, right? So
Yeah.
that makes sense to me.
I don't think the logo on the video, though, is going to change my opinion of Mixie Mondays or twins playing chess. I don't think that will change. Maybe.
I don't think they'll do that stuff as much anymore. I think they'll like help them with their.
You think Hex is going to be like, yeah, we're done. We're done with the chess stuff. Like
we
get
gonna
it.
Make this better.
We get it. They're hot. They play chess. Okay. What else is there here, people? What else are we doing here? So there's that. But from a business, it's the only thing that makes sense to me. From a fandom point of view, I 1000% disapprove of this move. Because for every reason that you were saying is, if you're an Envy fan, which not even just an Envy fan, but if you're an Envy fan diehard, so you're a fan of Envy, you've hated OpTic from Call of Duty and Halo and every other FPS game that brands have been up against. If you're a Fuel fan, a Dallas Fuel fan, you hated OpTic because OpTic owned the Houston team. Like, how perfect was that? That Dallas was Envy, Houston was OpTic. Like, Houston Outlaws were green. Oh, like OpTic. Fuel were blue. Like the you know what I'm saying? So it's like that was all done on purpose because you had the Dallas-Houston rivalry, like you had mentioned. And then in the CDL, you had Empire versus OpTic LA, which I don't give a shit what anyone says. That was OpTic, not Hex's OpTic. Because you know why? Hex didn't own OpTic because he sold it. Stop putting on, this is now to anyone else. I'm getting fired up now, dude. This is for the OpTic fans, what I call knee padders. They put on their knee pads and they get up to Hex and say, oh, this isn't your OpTic. Don't feel bad for Hex. He's cashed in on this team now like 3 or 4 times. Somehow this proves that Hex is the most genius owner and the worst owner of all time. Like, all at once, somehow Hex has managed to be absolutely terrible at running the brand, but also brilliant to somehow turning profit on it to everyone.
Well, he's run the content side great. I think where the issue has been, obviously there's a business side to this that we don't understand, right? Because clearly I think he would want full ownership and control over the brand. So
Right.
I'm going to assume in this scenario that Hex approached Envy to do this, right? Like that would be the only thing that in my mind makes sense. Because like, why would Envy be reaching out to OpTic to buy their brand unless you knew they were for sale, right? Unless you knew there was something that they needed.
Well, and like Hex has been looking for investors for a while now.
So like I'm assuming there's like just a whole business side to this on why it's been done. Look, in my opinion, Hex truly is one of the best owners. I would love to play for an owner like Hex because he seems like a player's owner, right? Like he's friends with them, he's buddy with them, he's like the cool guy, like he's not a stuck-up suit. And so I love Hex as an owner. I hate the route that OpTic's gone just over the past couple of years, right? Like nobody liked the Immortals deal, and including him. I'm sure that whole thing just seems like a big regret other than the payout that he got. And then here, I still just have a hard time believing that majority of competitive Call of Duty fans are like very much understanding of this merger. Like I just don't see how that could be the case. I really don't.
Well,
and
like you said, for the Envy fans too, I feel bad for them where it's like you've invested in this brand, like you've bought the Empire merch.
You're talking to the Envy fans, Tim. We are Envy fans, so it's like
I have my hat somewhere. Like we have Empire merch, we have Envy merch, and it's just like that. They've kind of spit in your face because now, like you said, so not only as an Empire fan or as an Envy fan, you're losing the Empire, right? You're losing what you've invested in. They were the better team, mind you. They're the ones with the championship, right? A CDL championship. But now it's not even in Dallas. It's OpTic, Texas, which does not roll off the tongue at all. Like, I don't like that name, but whatever. Let's not get hung up on that.
OpTic, Texas.
Yeah, OpTic, Texas does not. It sounds like I should be going to get like my glasses there. It does not sound like an esports org. Sounds like I should be going to get like a prescription or something. but I don't like it. But the fact that, like, yeah, like you said, they're trying to market it around like, oh, from Austin to Dallas to Houston. I don't want any of that. Like, I have a buddy who is born and raised in Houston, but also, and I've told you about this, it drives me insane. He's like a diehard Houston sports fan team dude, but also like a diehard Dallas Mavericks and Cowboys fan. And I'm like, you can't, like, I'm sorry, I'm old school, I guess, in that sense. I'm not that woke. Like, you can't.
It doesn't seem like that should be the case.
No.
You know?
Like, some people are like super against.
That's a rare breed. Like somebody that's a fandom of both sides. Like, I get it if you're from San Antonio and you're a Cowboys fan and maybe you're a Rockets fan, right? Like,
Listen, all I'm saying is
understandable.
I'm from Detroit. Okay. So I hate with every fiber of my being the Green Bay Packers. Like, despise, I will not let my kids wear green and yellow at the same time because I hate the Packers so much. I would rather have every child of mine come up to me and say, Dad, I'm a furry, before I ever hear them want to root for the Packers. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You have rivalries. You don't all of a sudden accept it. Like, even if Detroit bought Green Bay Packers and then switched to their branding, I would be like, absolutely not. Get this away from me. So I don't, from a fandom, I absolutely hate this move. From a business, I get it. You have the OpTic brand. Hell, if we could buy the OpTic brand, I would, right? Like, you just branding you don't give up. But I absolutely hate it, and I absolutely feel for the fans on both sides of it that feel like they're getting cheated out of their team.
No, yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to. I don't want to say do damage control, but they're gonna have to like work to kind of win both sides over on understanding, like, hey, this is gonna be good for you. Like, it is. I'll tell you some of the. I don't want to be totally negative here because there are a couple of positives. It is cool to have Scump on our team, okay? Because
Right.
Scump is a legend, and to have him as part of your team is something that I never thought we would have the opportunity to say, right? Like, I never
But do you
thought he
even
would
feel
leave.
like it's your team? I don't get those
Well, but
vibes. I don't get.
yeah, you're right. Like but that's part of the rebuilding process. I'll tell you what would make it feel like my team is if this team started winning. You know, if all of a sudden this team
True.
comes out
Winning
and they are
helps. Winning
competing
helps.
against FaZe, and like, trust me, I'm going to be rooting for them at least, you know, at the start, because I don't have anywhere else to go partially, right? I'm not going to choose another city and be like,
You know what
okay,
will help me decide that this is my team? Free merch. Just
Free
saying.
merch does it.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Free merch. They know the
Yeah,
address.
that helps. Yeah, they know the deal on that. You get us a little bit of free merch. We
I'll
made it
root for
clear on
any
the
team.
show 100 times, Tim. We're cheap.
I will
okay?
root for
We're
any team.
opinionated, but we're cheap, and so you
might
can
be
win
the-
our hearts over pretty quick.
The
But
only
yeah,
reason
it's-
we're opinionated is because you haven't bought us yet.
Yeah, that's really it. It's gonna take a little bit of time. It just feels weird. Like, they all seem so excited on social media, and like, I get it, you know, I understand that, but it feels fake to me a little bit right now. Like,
It feels just doesn't feel right. It
doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right. Doesn't look good. It doesn't feel so unnatural. And like I said, I feel for the fans that are kind of like, well, shit. Like, as an OpTic fan at this point, how are you still this hyped up about it? Where you're like,
I mean, but OpTic kept the name at least.
Yeah,
At
I
least
mean,
their
they're at least
name is like
OpTic,
OpTic, right?
but I don't want to hear like, oh, Hex is OpTic. Like, stop it. That dude has cashed out so many times on you. Like, as a fan, Hex has cashed out on your fandom so many times, and you just keep coming back to him, and then he cashes it out again. Like,
but that's
stop.
what he's like, a Mark Cuban type owner, right? Like, he's pretty infectious as an owner.
He somehow
I get
brainwashed people.
everybody that is ages 12 to 21 is going to like Hex. Like, he is cool. Like, he is like a, you know, dude that does his graffiti, owns a
He's
freaking
somehow
weed
have
company now,
brainwashed
like-
all these people into just getting on board with anything he does. Man, if I was a fan, I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't trust him with my
Maybe
fandom.
I need to consider 100 Thieves as my new team.
Yeah.
I
I'm with
might need
you,
to start
dude.
looking
I'm
elsewhere.
with
I don't
you.
know.
I used
I don't
to
know.
I used to
100
give
Thieves needs to make a CSGO team. Maybe the next true NA great. That'll just be my team.
Fair enough.
Because we adopted Envy, right? Envy came into our backyard. Mike was a really cool guy. We got to meet a lot of people in the organization. We adopted it. But right now, Tim, I'm feeling like I got cheated on.
Yeah, no, I feel a little betrayed. I feel a little betrayed. Kevin, I know you're in chat because you just said New York subliners are looking good. They are looking good. They have Clay and Crims. There'd be an easy team to be a fan of.
Yeah, but you know they're both going to be on different teams next year, probably.
That's true.
They can't get too committed to that lineup.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of, if you're an OpTic fan or an Envy fan now looking for a home, or an Empire fan, I should say, I won't, just let me know where you're going. Because like I said, like I'm sure it does feel weird. Like you're losing not only the branding, but as a Dallas fan, you are losing Dallas. Like at least if Chicago has, so I guess the fallback, and then Kevin, I'm going to call you in Discord, so get ready and we can talk Worlds. But the fallback to this too is, so now Envy owns the Dallas spot, which is now the Texas spot, and the Chicago spot. So Chicago is getting sold. I would assume that's going to stay in that city, but we've heard like maybe
more rumors of Washington, but that fell through. But there's like the fact that there was rumors of another city buying it out. Like Chicago shouldn't be holding their breath. It's a 50-50.
Right.
Know?
So Chicago might keep it. I personally would like to see it in Columbus just because of like the MLG roots and everything. Maybe a North Carolina team. Geographically doesn't mean shit because we've seen how the league operates. You probably want an East Coast or Central located team at this point.
Everybody's in Texas anyway
right,
at this point. So.
Right. So who knows? Maybe we should buy it.
Maybe it should be a Dallas slot.
I was gonna say maybe we should buy it and make it a Dallas spot. So that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. We'll see. Let's pool it together. Everyone donate us and we'll buy the spot. At this rate, it's got to be pretty cheap. They can't be asking too much money for a CDL spot here. So we'll see. All right, Kevin, let's call you in here and get you to talk some Worlds. As we're doing that, Columbus, Zen says in chat, Columbus just isn't big enough. Yeah, but it is a college town. So
it's not really that small though either. They also have the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, they have they have professional sports and it's a college town. And have you ever been to Columbus? I went there for the major, the CS major, forever ago now, it feels like. Awesome city. Awesome. I would move to Columbus if I...
Wasn't it like dead winter when y'all went?
I don't know. How do I add Kevin to this call?
Let's do the plus sign on the top right.
I don't see the plus sign on the top right. Hold on. I'm going to...
I got him right here. Oh, maybe it'll create a new...
I'm going to hide the screen on stream just so we... Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's what it was. I have to... Discord does not make this easy. All right, I'm going to create a thing. I think this is going to...
Philly would be cool. Philly would be a good city. Seattle has a team.
Start voice call. There we go. All right, so we will get Kevin. Kevin, do you copy over?
Over, copy. What's
up? There we go. Man.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I hear you. I hear you. I cannot see you.
Can't see you.
There we go. Now
there he is. There he is.
There is Kevin.
Beautiful people. How you guys doing? Let me tell you guys. I, for one, I was 100% shocked at this Envy OpTic news. I had zero clue. I was caught unawares with my pants down, literally, and I was just like, "This is absolutely." I had no clue at all.
I don't believe you.
Are you happy with it?
I mean, Hex has always been a great marketer, but a shit businessman. Let's be real.
As I said, from a business standpoint, I mean, don't get me wrong. I totally get it. It's just, you know, like you said, though, we'll be able to get him on the show. Probably.
There you go.
Unless he actually does listen to the show, then he probably won't ever come on the show.
That's probably why he hasn't come on yet. Let's be real.
Right now, if Hex had any sort of balls, any sort of gumption in his body, he would show up on the show and just, you know, no big deal. He'd answer the call, you know. But
I agree. He's a coward. He's scared.
That's what it is.
He's not brave enough.
Side, On the bright side, if you go to DallasEmpire.com and go to their merch or whatever, you can see it's like everything's on 50% off.
Well,
so
of
you're
course,
welcome to
50. It
get-
should be like 80% off. They should be giving that stuff away to people on the streets at this
Hey
point.
man, it's the best branding the CDL's got.
It
or
is,
had.
but it's gone. No one will know about it. Our kids will look at this and be like, is this the Kansas City Scouts? Like, what is this team? Like, no one knows about this team.
Dallas Empire 2021 home jersey, $37.50. There you go.
Still seems
that's
expensive.
still-
honestly.
yeah,
that is pretty
that's a
expensive.
bit
but compared
much.
to compare other sports jerseys, that's not that. That's like I might actually buy that. I might look at that a second time and say, whoa.
Sports jerseys, though, I've never compared to traditional sports jerseys. Nothing like the stitching and like
Oh,
it's just
no.
it's just a different
I've-
level of like quality that you get.
Yeah.
Sports jerseys are basically like sweat retaining T-shirts, is what they are. That eventually stink up after like 2 hours of wear somehow.
Fair. That's true. This is just like pretty much the gamer sweat equivalent.
Yeah. I miss the days where it was just T-shirts. I don't know why we had to get this weird sweat. But either way, let's not talk about jerseys here, Kevin, because we have you on for one reason and one reason only. I don't give a shit about your Call of Duty opinions.
Fair enough.
We're here to talk Worlds because I don't know anything about League of Legends except
China #1.
China #1 and the Netflix show dropped this week. Anuj, we
Yeah.
need to watch it to review it for next week.
I will say this about I'll say this about the Netflix show, right? I had like lowest expectations. I was like, I didn't like the Dota 2 show too much. The Witcher show is okay, but it's Witcher, so you're gonna like that anyways. But video game adaptations from Netflix have been kind of hit or miss for me. So I had super low expectations for the what's it called, Arcane. I watched the first the episodes, the first act. I was thoroughly impressed.
I
was
like the animation of it. I haven't watched it yet, so no spoilers. But just looking at the animation style,
like the trailers that I saw looked cool,
right.
But that's all I can say about it right now.
Like the Dota style was like your traditional anime-esque. Like they didn't try to do League. It almost looks like what it would look like. Like they use that same, like League of Legends graphics. I don't even know what you would call that style of graphics, but it's
like 2D, 3D kind of thing.
Almost like almost looks cell shaded, but not like, I don't know. It was something that could run on every computer 20 years ago, and it still can. I don't know what style it is, but it's like the show is in that. Either way, the show's out. I know that. Anuj and I will watch it.
How long are these episodes? 1 hour, 30 minutes?
They're about 42, 45 minutes long, so they're hefty episodes. So maybe there's a lot to digest.
2 weeks and 2 episodes, Anuj. We'll discuss.
We'll probably need an extra couple days just to get through 3 hours of watching.
They're releasing, so they're calling them acts. So releasing like 3 acts. Each act has 3 episodes. So this past weekend was 3 episodes of the first act. Next weekend will be the second act. The weekend after that will be the third act. So probably by Thanksgiving, just kind of binge through the whole show. You got 9 episodes to go through, and that might be something you guys should look into. But I think the show's great. I gave it like the opening shots like 4 out of 5. I thought it was pretty cool.
Nice. Okay, good to know.
Looking forward to it. Now I just need to, have my kids be okay with me turning off.
Oh, it is a very adult show. By
Sesame
the way.
Street, or the 2-year-old is starting to repeat everything. So the days of watching inappropriate stuff in front of him are long gone, because he is repeating. He is repeating. So it is pretty much strictly Sesame Street and Toy Story in my household. All right, so we had Worlds.
Yes.
My prediction of Counter-Strike, of Cloud9 running the table, not that far off. Like I will say top 8 for NA. Like that's really good, right? That's like for an NA fan, we almost won Worlds, right?
I mean, not really, because you're still like in the quarterfinals. You got stomped by, I think it was, who was it? I want to say it was Damwon probably stomped him.
No, that was
in
round.
Gen G stomped you guys. So I don't think, like, sure, you can say, like, oh, hey, Cloud9 made it to, the quarterfinals.
It's the knockout stage. From everything that I've heard prior, though, it was like they weren't going to make it at all. So getting to the knockout stage.
I said that they weren't going to make it. So I'll say I was wrong. 1,000 ways to Sunday. I was wrong, and I'm happy that Cloud9 made the run they did. They kind of gave NA a minuscule amount of hope, but it's hope nonetheless, and that's something that you can't ever discount. But Cloud9, they did surprise me. They were the third seed coming out of North America. I didn't expect them to make it out of the play-ins. Ended up running the sneaking in through the group stage and kind of making a knockout stage, because there were a few games they had Gen.G on the ropes for a few plays before Gen.G kind of like snapped out of it, like, oh, we actually have to beat these guys, we have to advance, guys, sorry. But I mean, other than that, they did impress a little bit compared to their talent level. Let's put it that way, right?
Enough with Cloud9. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
tired of it. I'm tired of this Cloud9 nonsense. Okay, Tim, let's get to the big boys here. I want to talk about the top four. I kind of want to start off with Faker a little bit, because this was a run that people were like wishing and thinking and trying to dream into fruition, right? Like people wanted to see him make the finals. They fell short against Damwon 3-2, close matchup. That game 5 was, I actually got a chance to. Well, it was the one game I was telling you, Tim, at that time. I was like, I needed to watch a little bit of Faker, so I got up and I ended up watching Game 5. There, wasn't impressed. They sucked. They actually got rocked in that Game 5, but they did make it all the way to the semis. Is that somewhat of a win for them, like getting that far, or this was like championship or bust?
This was championship or bust. You don't win 3 prior championships and resurge into Worlds 2 years after your last playoff appearance, and oh, we went to semis. That's a good like pat on the back. That was okay. We'll try again next year, guys. No, for these guys, Faker's been in the league almost 7-8 years now. If you don't win a championship at this point up against a rival, because they lost to Damwon Gaming, they lost to the number 1 seeded Korean team going into Worlds, and T1 was the second team, so that was obviously the biggest chip on their shoulder, and they couldn't overcome them. And that's kind of the biggest thing that was lost in that kind of storyline between Faker kind of coming back, is like Damwon Gaming was on a wrecking spree to also get their own narrative out there. They wanted to win it back to back. That that hasn't happened since Faker, ironically enough, right? And so to see that happen for Faker, I mean, I know that stomp in game 5 doesn't, it wasn't down to a team fight, it wasn't down to a mistake. It was pretty much like game 5, you guys came and you lost. You had a 6K gold lead at 6K gold deficit at the end of it. I mean, you lost. You put up your best efforts, and that's all you can. That's all you can really hope for. There's no questions asked. Like, we weren't going to advance anyways. That's kind of what Faker has to live with for the off season, and maybe he'll come back next season and have a different perspective on it. But for now, I think he's kind of taking a little bit hard.
I got to ask real quick to follow up on this. Is there part of this with T1? Is there a next year for this team? Like, is this a team that you see can stay competitive for the next year, 2 years type thing? Or did this feel like, hey, this was out of left field, the fact that they made it here? I mean, you said they were number 2 in Korea throughout the season, right? So obviously they're a good team, but the team with the lineup as you see it, is this a team that we should expect to be making a return appearance to, getting this far in their major?
I would say so. I would say so. This is still a really good team. Even if you just have the 3 and the 3 core players like Faker or that whole roster kind of forming around the AD carry, and the names escape me right now, but it's as long as you maintain a solid 3 core players, T1's in great position to kind of not repeat, but make a solid competitive run next year too. Because I mean, this year, Damwon Gaming just had it on lock the entire season, even throughout Korea. They pretty much stomped T1 in the Korean finals, and it's the same story here in the World's finals. They stomped T1 in that game 5, even though, let's be real, both the semifinals were actually really good game 5s, or 5-game series, I should say. That was glorious to watch. And honestly, I know we'll talk about it in a second, but this the grand final game 5, also that was insane. That was probably one of
the fact that we even got a game 5 in a grand final was something new for people, right? Like, it's been a long time.
And that, I mean, I'll talk about it here in a second, but that was a very impressive game 5. And I know we got 3 of them to wrap up the entire tournament. That's like, you know what? That's you can't ask for much more than that as a fan.
Now let's talk about the finals a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I think most people that follow were feeling Damwon kind of, this was their tournament to lose, right? And
I believe it was your prediction, right? Credit where credit's due. Didn't you say Damwon Kevin?
I did say Damwon would make it into the finals. I was hesitant on saying they'd win, but I did say they would win. So I was wrong on that end of things. So
Okay.
there's
Yeah,
that.
they gave it a good try. Now, Edward Gaming, they were in all game fives throughout the playoffs, so they were ready for a game five in the championship, right? Like their opening quarterfinals matchup against Royal was a 3-2 win, against Gen G was a 3-2 win, and then against Damwon, another 3-2 win there. What was special about their run?
So Edward Gaming had up until that point in the grand finals, right? They'd played a total of I think 8 or 15 games, which is the most ever going into a grand final, and then they played 5 more games on top of that. So they had at that point by game 5, they had already played the most League of Legends you could ever play going into Worlds. So they had probably ample amount of experience in all kinds of situations. They had they didn't go through sweep after sweep like Damwon did. They didn't go through, easy teams like Damwon did. They went through a really tough, kind of Group B where 100 Thieves went 3-3. Detonation Focus, who was 0-6, but they also had to go up against T1, who ended that 5-1 in that Group B. And so that kind of just bolsters their position a little bit, right? Gives them a little bit more experience, and it's like Goku throughout a tournament. Every time Goku gets beaten down, he for whatever reason the riders decide, he's got to come back stronger from this. Doesn't matter what's going on. That's kind of Edward Gaming throughout Worlds this year, and so Damwon.
That's the first thing I've understood.
Yeah,
that you mentioned.
I break it down for you. See, no problem at all. But Edward Gaming just kind of went on a really, really good underdog run there. Where I say underdog, right? They're the number 1 seed out of China. This is not an underdog run, but up against Damwon Gaming, last year's champions, they're a little bit of an underdog. And so the fact that they also had the most games played and they kind of had a really, really great performance out of their mid laner and jungler, that's kind of helped really put themselves up against the eventual losers in Damwon Gaming. Edward Gaming won in 5 games, and like that game 5, I watched the entirety of that game 5. I was at a 5K earlier that morning, and so as soon as the 5K was over, I'm like, we got to wrap up. I got to go get some breakfast or some lunch or whatever. I don't know what time it is. We got to watch this game 5 because it's insane. And so I caught all of that game 5, and it literally came down to a Baron fight that Damwon Gaming won, and they ran down to the Elder Drake, which is another dragon buff, Tim. I don't know if you know that or not. There's another. There's one. 2 little. There's 2 little buffs there. But Edward kind of met them at that Elder Drake fight, and that was kind of the deciding factor of the game. As soon as it was kind of weird to see it all happen like in slow motion, but once it did, it was like Edward Gaming just kind of played it so smart. They backed off when they could have, and then they won it, and it was like that's the game. Like Damwon just lost the game right there, and it was maybe 2 or 3 minutes after that they blew up the Nexus, and that was it. They put their name on their trophy and planted their flag.
Do you have anything on it? I was going to ask.
Yeah, I was going to say, like for the overall event itself, I saw record viewership.
Yes.
Once again, they continue to just crush the competition, and really no slowing down in sight. Like I really don't see it slowing down for this game. But any takeaways from just the overall, like how was the presentation? Like did it feel like you were watching a premiere event? Like they usually do a pretty good job. I didn't catch like opening ceremonies and things like that, but what were just the takeaways from the event itself?
This year, this was pretty insane because they ended up premiering with Arcane the same day. So Arcane played a lot into the opening ceremony. We had like new music from the series popping up. Imagine Dragons, as always, was great. I think the JID is the artist name. I'm not sure what his name is, but he was also solid. They all had like these little in person, but inside the Arcane series kind of opening ceremony montage happening. So it was really great presentations. Of course, we always wish there was a crowd there. And so to see that there's no crowd shots, there's no crowd noise or anything like that, it's kind of disappointing. But it's days of COVID still. Hopefully by next year we get that a little bit more easily figured out for these events. But like you said, in terms of viewership, it peaked at 4 million, over 4 million viewers on the day of the grand final. And that's insane. The tournament as a whole saw average, I think, 1.2, 1.3 million viewers per day, which is
it's insane.
I mean, for any esport, 1.3 million viewers on any given day would be amazing. To have it every single day for the entirety of the tournament is very, very impressive. And it just goes to show, this esport, it probably isn't going to die anytime soon. I mean, if it would die, I mean,
It's not. I mean, it's not. It
No.
might not be the strongest it's ever been in NA,
Yeah.
but as a world game, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not leaving the main stage anytime soon. They're crushing it.
Any serious esports organization has some kind of investment in League of Legends, and I say that directly aimed at OpTic.
What's pretty unique with League of Legends to me is like every time we get into Worlds talk, it's really the one time I start looking at some of the teams and seeing the names of who's involved, and I always see a couple of new names in the mix. Like always see it. Now maybe there are buyouts and all that are taking place, or just name changes because of sponsorships or whatever. But I always see a little bit of churn with the names, and that's awesome. Like that's great to see. And it's not like we're just recycling the big names in here. I'm talking about like the Hanwha Life Esports. Even Edward Gaming was relatively new to me, to like seeing that name and to see them, coming away with the championship here is pretty fantastic.
No, for sure, and that's like it's kind of the what a franchised, storied league who's had years of development behind their backs. That's what they're known for, right? They have these great mainstay cornerstone teams, and that's kind of what you have to depend on if you want to succeed as an esports tournament or an esports league. You have to have these teams that drive in viewership. You have to have teams like T1, Cloud9, Rogue, Damn One Gaming, teams that have been around for more than a season or two, to kind of help cement yourself as a fan-driven league. And that's something I think other esports kind of don't get right.
Well,
a lot of it's just kind of like you qualify or you buy in.
They broke viewership records without a Cloud9 or a G2, or a Fnatic even making the semis. You didn't have, outside of T1, you didn't have a legendary organization name involved in the Final Four. I know Damn One's legendary in the sense that they won a championship, but I'm talking about from a marketing side. Like, you didn't have some of these iconic names in there to work off of, and yet you're still getting damn near 5 million viewers. That's great.
It's super impressive, and I wish, honestly, I kind of wish they did a little bit more, because it's the 10th anniversary of the first ever Worlds tournament, and so I kind of wish they did a little bit more. They kind of had little details.
Maybe wait for fans to come back and you could spice it up that way.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
real quick, Kevin, before we let you go here, I want your too early 2022 Worlds winner.
Oh, too early 2022 Worlds winner. Oh boy. All right. This year, Edward Gaming won their first ever Worlds Championship, right? One team that's always been on the cusp and has kind of had a little bit of international success throughout MSI was Royal Never Give Up. And I think next year is Royal Never Give Up's year. I feel like they've been on the cusp way too long to kind of not come away with a championship. So you got guys like Gala and Cryan, who really, really have been hankering for some kind of trophy to lift up. And next year, it would kind of be very sweet for them to get that chance in front of fans the first time in a few years to actually get a trophy. So I think Royal Never Give Up is going to be your Worlds 2022 champions.
Okay, they lost to Edward 3-2, so not a bad pick. They were right there, and who knows, if they had taken that game 5, it might have been them this year. So
exactly.
Still one of the worst names, though.
A little rough.
Not a good.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. They're doing okay for themselves, obviously. So.
RNG, man, it's the easiest abbreviation. Anybody can understand that. Plus, it's gamer culture, bro.
That is true. That is true.
RNG is actually a nice little touch, so I like that. I like that.
See? So in terms of I like Worlds. I hope it continues to grow for next year, and we'll see. Maybe I'll record this and I'll have like, see, I told you guys, RNG would be like.
We'll give you credit. We will give you credit for sure. We as someone who reminds people that I picked Cloud9 to win the Boston Major. Never let people forget good predictions here.
And to prove that he did that pick, go look at his coins on his Steam account. So you'll
I also am the man of the people, and I was supporting all my other people that could not afford stickers. So I've been protesting pick'ems ever since.
Fair enough. I will say one quick thing, really quick, relating to Worlds, because I remember I'll have an episode dropping on the Esports Network podcast tomorrow talking about this. But Riot Games, I don't know if you guys saw this story or not, had restricted media access to Worlds in Iceland, and
I saw
so
Jacob Wolf and the other, I forgot who it was.
she was
Yeah.
Horizon Esports, and so they reached out to Riot's communication, and so it was weird to see, like, of course, Riot saying like nobody will ever be allowed, and we're just going to sneak in these Chinese outlets to kind of cover the event. And I'm just
Was
like,
that because of COVID though?
yeah, through the reasoning was COVID. Like they want COVID to kind of run rampant through the press and everything like that. So the reasoning was we're just going to not let any press come, and that's going to be the hard line we're drawing. Except we're just going to bend the line a little bit more and allow these outlets. And so the big issue was just that they weren't communicating anything at all to the press, and whatever they did communicate was a straight up lie. And pretty much there's no fair or equitable access to these events because these are major media outlets that aren't getting a chance to cover this. Like you're talking not Esports, not Horizon Esports. We're talking like NBC, Reuters.
I was going to say, like,
BBC.
even for ESPN, they don't show a whole lot of esports stuff, but I have seen world highlights on like the late night sports center and stuff. Like they do, well, they'll at least bring that up. Like there was one time I saw where it was on like the top 10 ones or something. Like they had a world's play on the top 10 one time. So it's, who knows? Riot seems to make these decisions more often than not where it leaves people scratching their heads, especially on the NA side of things, right? Like you would think, and they're an NA company. It's not like they're a Chinese company that we're showing favoritism here. So
they're owned by Tencent, so.
Yeah, they're Chinese company.
But they started here is what I'm saying.
They did. A lot of the development team is North American based, so you're right on that. They probably should have had a little bit more foresight into this because for a lot of us, like going to cover these events, it's like free press for these publishers and these companies. Like it makes no sense to kind of.
Kevin,
they also know they don't yes, everybody could use the press. But let's be real. At the end of the day, they still broke almost 5 million viewers, and
we've tried making that argument for a few outlets too.
they're not too worried, I'm sure, because if they wanted to have them there next year, all the same people will still come. So
well, you know what? To show support to our fellow reporters and newsmen, Anuj, I will make this statement right here now.
Here we go.
We will not. And I repeat, we will not talk about League of Legends until the next time we have Kevin on.
Fair enough.
That's
apart from the anime, apart from the TV show. But I refuse. And you know what? Dare I say it? I might not even play League of Legends.
Oh,
you ain't never played League of Legends?
Gonna hurt the
never again.
Count.
I will never play League of Legends again until they get the
hard
NA
to find
media.
a game in NA now with Tim not queuing. So see what happens there.
All
right. Kevin, we got to go talk about real sports, not these bitch boy sports that you're over here talking about. So we got some big dog CS to get to, and I'm foaming at the mouth. Tim, do a proper send off. Give the man his credentials. Let him know where to find him.
Everyone, go follow Kevin on Twitter at Correa24. He hosts Esports Network, daily news updates for esports. He does 1 or 2 long form shows a week with them. Yep. So follow them, follow Kevin. He talks a lot more League of Legends than we do, but he also talks about everything else. So there you go.
Appreciate it, guys. You guys have a good one. Enjoy the PG. Is it PGL talk, I'm assuming?
Yes, Kevin. That was.
Don't you dare act like you don't know what's coming up. Go hang out with your wife and child.
I will. You guys have a good one. You have a good night. Enjoy the PGL talk later.
Later, Kevin.
Thanks for coming on.
All right, so there you have it. Kevin coming on the show to talk Worlds.
Good dude of the week, Kevin.
Good dude of the week. Always much appreciated, because without him, you would never get Worlds. Yeah, you would never.
I'll ask the questions. We just will have no answers on this show for you.
Right. So there you have it. Some Worlds talk for those who want it. All right, Danuj, let's talk about something I know a little about, and that is Counter-Strike. With the PGL Major Stockholm 2021, it's officially done. It's in the books. It came just as fast as it went.
Came just as fast as we do sometimes.
Pretty fast. But boy, just as satisfying, though, if I might add, because this was it ticked off every box that I wanted from a major, all the way down to, and I know people at the start, especially when we went into the stadium, people were bitching about, oh, the sound quality sucks, oh, last like, the fact that I saw people saying this is the last major that PGL will get, that's how I knew we were in full major form. The fact that we had, like, really bad technical issues at, like, the biggest event for Counter-Strike, I wasn't even upset. This was home for me. I was like, this is what I want. I don't want a flawless major. I want people bitching about it because it sucks at the start.
You know, it's funny because, like, as from watching from NA, all these games typically were during work hours, right? So when there were delays, I never really was affected by, like, it didn't throw off my watching schedule.
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, I gotta go to bed or I gotta go do this. Like, I just went about my work day, and then when it came on, I would
Poked your head back in.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
poke
it's
my head
back
back
up.
in and get going. And so, from a production standpoint, I heard a lot of complaints. I didn't necessarily feel
Just
them,
see 'em.
nor was I affected by them. So there were some audio issues, and then the typical, like, technical timeouts would happen, but that's at any event. So, like, not the audio, but the technical timeouts are kind of at any event. So I don't look at that as like
Yeah.
a huge issue.
Same thing
but
with the talent. People bitching about Thorin being on the desk. Never heard him. I was working.
yeah,
I had it on the
didn't
back.
watch, like, okay, can we talk about talent for 2 seconds before we talk about the juicy stuff here in the
Well,
actual event itself?
talent
gonna get
stuff is
talent.
juicy.
Talent needs not to necessarily hear this from me, but I need to express.
Oh, no.
some of these things.
Let me say something from there, because the talent does need. Listen. I was in traditional sports media for 10 years, almost a decade of my life. I worked in traditional sports media. And you, just as a normal human being of traditional sports fandom, will know this. No one puts talent on a pedestal as much as talent does in esports.
As much as Counter-Strike talent does, in my opinion.
Boy,
I
the
think
talent in
the egos
Counter-Strike.
within CS are abnormally large compared to other games. I don't even know talent from other games.
That is
I
true.
know Blue from Rainbow Six because he was in Counter-Strike, you know?
And he wears $5,000 outfits that he tweets about so nonchalantly. I love Blue. Most awkward interview of all time, but I love him. No, yes, the talent loves themselves in Counter-Strike. If you ask the talent, they would probably assume you're tuning into the major to watch them, and the games are just a distraction.
Secondary.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so this is what I want to say around talent. The only talent I've ever cared about are your play-by-play, right? Like your actual casters. Because the casters do affect your actual experience watching the game. If they know how to get hype at the right times, break down plays from an analytical standpoint. Like, that's the talent that really matters to me. The desk host,
And
that's
hot chicks.
fine at all.
Hot chicks
Whatever
matter
you,
too.
yeah, like the hosts don't matter to me. The analysts don't matter to me because I watch that stuff in and out. I'm not listening or dying by every word that they say. If it's on when I turn it on, great. If it's not, really just waiting for the game. So that's first and foremost. But when it comes to this drama, Tim, we saw Bardoff send out a tweet. And I'm not going to read the tweet verbatim, but essentially it was him bitching, and I will use the word bitching because that's exactly what it was. It was him bitching about. Sorry, hold on. It was him bitching about not getting an opportunity to cast past the semifinals, right? They didn't, or quarterfinals. They didn't get to do any of the last like 7 or 8 games that were there. So he puts out a tweet at the end of his last one saying, "Hey, the old guys club kind of handle, didn't want us to be part of it." Essentially, is what he was saying. It's not a quote, but he was blaming them
he
for
said
not
the old
getting,
boys club strike again or something like that.
Yeah, like that he's not casting in one of the later stages because of whatever drama is going on there on site. And a lot of that hate was then spewed towards Semler and carried over onto Anders, who took it hard, it seems like. And then we also had the whole Sadakist Moses issue of Sadakist getting kicked out of the country because of visa issues that God only can understand, because I sure as hell don't, and I have no clue. Like,
I don't blame anyone for visa
how that
issues.
happens. So my issue here, Tim, is these guys in the middle of the biggest event after 2 years were spitting hate about this one event that we've all been waiting for, and it bothered me so much to see them bring this drama out into the public because A, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares about talent drama as much as talent cares about talent drama. Is it fun to follow? Sure. Like as fans, it can be fun to follow at other events or in between events, like as shit's going on. Yes, it can be entertaining to like see some juicy gossip like that. I don't need you bringing this public in the biggest event of the year. I don't need to know what's going on behind the scenes with some of this stuff when it comes to like your drama and why you weren't selected. Bardoff, I got to tell you something, bud. I love you. I think you are awesome. I genuinely think you and DDK do a great job. But to think that you deserved a finals game, let's just say it was finals that you're complaining about, you're out of your damn mind. You haven't done anything for CS in the past year, for the most part, besides cast a couple of times. DDK is over there promoting the Eminem shooter game. I forgot the name of it right now. Diabolical and playing Valorant or casting a Valorant. He's not even involved in the Counter-Strike scene. He was basically saying a thank you and farewell midway through the event that, this is probably his last CSGO event. You didn't deserve it. The people that deserved it were Alex and Sponge. It's not even like close that they deserved the finals match and a semifinals match because they have done like a lot between what they cast, host, HLTVs, podcasts. Like they're very much involved in CSGO. The other ones weren't even at the major, which in my mind would be Lawners and Scrawny, who carried hard carried CSGO there for a while, and Launders with all the content that he's putting out. And then Hugo and Harry, again, not at the event, but I thought they were amazing for Counter-Strike over the last year and a half, 2 years. The guys that were here should just be happy to be here. DDK and Bardoff are there based on name. Anders and Semler, to a certain extent, are there. Like, Anders and Semler, I'm okay with because they're iconic talent in my mind, like for what they've done for CSGO. And I think Moses also should have had that opportunity, but without Sadakis doesn't really make sense. So I was just so shocked to see that come up in the middle of the major that it bothered me enough to where I needed to take a few minutes to like vent a little bit, just how annoyed and disgusted I am with them for honestly having this shit come up in the middle of the event.
Yeah, it was supposed to be good vibes only, but you know what? When you looked at that talent lineup, you knew some drama was going to come from it just because it's what follows. But there is an old boys club. I'll give them, that is true. We've talked about it on the show. There's an old boys club of Counter-Strike.
They need to deal with that.
But the irony, too, though, is people have bitched to James Bardoff about doing the same thing, where he puts himself in the finals for events that his company hosts.
Bardoff got to do the finals for a major already. Like, he's done one. Like, shut up.
So
just shut up. Like, that's all I have to say about that.
So there's that. But I agree. The Counter-Strike talent drama is unlike any other.
Unnecessary. So, okay.
Getting on to the good stuff. Getting on to the good, though, because we already discussed everything leading up into the new championship. So, right? Everything was pretty much done.
Well, we didn't, we had only talked about the first round of matchups.
Oh, yeah. Because obviously didn't happen by then. So let's talk some new champs. Spoiler alert, Na'Vi defeated G2 2-0. But let's talk a little bit on how we got there. The one matchup that I was nervous about with Na'Vi going into it from out the gate was Na'Vi and Vitality, because first off, Vitality has proven that they can beat Na'Vi in the past. They weren't necessarily blowouts to begin with. Na'Vi defeated them 16-11 on Dust 2, 16-13 on Nuke. And now we have this rumor that Vitality is, or not even, is it?
It's not a rumor, it's confirmed.
It's confirmed, right? That Vitality is picking up those guys. So this was kind of the swan song for Vitality. Fitting, though, getting swept by Na'Vi in the major, but that was one that I was nervous, but it turned out not to be.
That was the scariest game for Na'Vi in my mind, because it was the only game where Simple had to go head-to-head with another Opper that was on equal footing with him, right? I think we can all agree that Zywoo, if you don't want to say he's on equal footing, then there's a 1A, 1B type situation here, right? We're not too far off from one another. So that was truly the only game where I was like, damn, this could be tough. Now, Gambit, I thought would be tough for other reasons. Obviously, turned out to not be the case. But
Right.
yeah, that first
Not at all.
matchup had me sweating a little bit because I was like, damn, this could be like the run for Navi. And A, this would mess up my pick'ems completely. But B, like we've been saying Euro simple, Euro simple, Euro simple, and here it is. Like maybe he goes out in the quarterfinals. Like how devastating would that be? Turned out to not be the case. As
it turned out not to be the case. You had Gambit defeating Furia 2-0. Do you have anything to say on that one?
Expected.
Yeah, expected. Heroic VP. Now that was the only thing that when you and I were discussing that we kind of differed on because it felt like it could have gone either way. Almost did. I thought one of those went to overtime.
Almost did. Like it was a crazy series. I mean, like it had some moments from refresh that would really stand out, but I think as a whole that series was exactly what people thought it would be, right? It was a 50-50 draw. It felt close the whole way through. You had big players stepping up at big times, but I felt Heroic should win that matchup. I really believe that. Although I believe that it would be close, I thought Heroic kind of just had the edge just because they've kind of just done a little bit more, in this offline era. But really impressive nonetheless from both teams. Like that was just a good series. And funny enough, Heroic was the only team in this playoffs that experienced 3-game series. Everything else was 2-0s, right? But this was one of those matches where I thought on Inferno, I really believed Virtus Pro should have won that map and Heroic should have been knocked out at that point. And I feel I don't want to call anybody out necessarily, and I'm not really calling this person out because he's a big part of the reason of why they got there. But Jamie, I always butcher this, but the Opera Forum, he missed some very, very crucial, what I would say are easy for a player of his caliber shots to hit in that Inferno matchup, and probably cost them about 2 to 3 rounds late in that game. And that was really the turning point for that match, because I thought in Inferno, VP probably looked a little bit better at times and had a really good start to that or good finish to that CT side, making the run at the end. But there was a couple of rounds on that CT side that you just felt for him, man. He missed some easy shots. We thought the Nico one was bad. Jamie had some equally bad misses. They're never a good miss, but really bad misses in that match. And fortunately for Heroic, it went in their favor, and they took it 2-1.
And then you had G2 versus NIP. And now this one is when I realized, like, oh shit, G2 is on a run. Like, they are feeling it. I know we talked about before, we have some listeners that are big G2 fans, and they were saying, like, even as G2 fans, they were like, I just want to not be embarrassed. Like, that's it, G2. Like, just don't embarrass us this time around. And getting to new champs is impressive in itself, but still, it's like you could easily look dumb in quarterfinals, even in the new champ stage. But Nico, this is like when you first, to me, in the major, was like, oh, Nico is in form. Like, he looked like...
He activated God mode in that match, right?
Like, he was in major form. Like, he looked like old Nico, where you're like, oh, this is where the number one in the world went.
2 maps numbers for him, 51 and 37. It's pretty solid.
Incredible.
Pretty solid for games that were like 16-10, 16-11 tied at 16-11. I think both games actually.
And there were times too where it's like even Device was playing nutty in some of those rounds, but it was just G2 was so on point to where it's like even in rounds that you felt like NIP had the advantage, they would get the first kill, they would get the early pick. It was just, but
Nico was a difference maker, right? On Inferno,
he would come back,
will them through essentially. Like he did whatever he needed to do, and it was able to get them the win there. With Device, I want to take 2 seconds because I am a little slightly worried about this NIP lineup. This was obviously a great showing for them to get to the playoffs. I feel like it wasn't a given that NIP was going to be in this situation, but then they did have the home crowd advantage coming into the LAN side of it, and kind of got it handed to them. And this is where I'm a little nervous now, because for me, the rumors were Dupree, Magisk, maybe one of them, maybe both of them could be headed to NIP to kind of help them out. We know those rumors are debunked, and we'll get into that part in a minute. But now I look at that roster, and I'm a little nervous for them for their where they kind of go from here, because I do think they need to make a change and have a little bit more help for Device, because although Device has been a superstar for all these years, he's done it with 4 other superstars around him, and we can't forget that, right? Like, Device was able to carry when he needed to carry, but he wasn't asked to carry majority of the time, right? And that's a big difference from a Simple, a Nico, a Zywoo. If they are not on, those teams do not win. Device and Astralis didn't need to be on, but when they needed it, he was very crucial in his timing. This roster doesn't have that same potential to me. Although Rez can be a star and has been at times, he fell short in this major and really didn't look good for periods of time during the major. So I am a little concerned for the NIP lineup. That's a team I would want to keep a close eye on during this off-season period and see what changes they make. Because if they don't make any, I think this is like the limit for this roster, right? Like being a playoff team. Maybe they make it one more round, right? But I would never look at this team like a major winning roster, at least not right now.
Yeah, because you kind of had hope that some of the guys that would, when like Astralis was, going to break up, like, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll see some moves happen with to going over to NIP and things like that. And maybe we see because do we know where Dupree and Magis is going?
Yeah, they're all going to Vitality.
Okay, I didn't know if that part was confirmed.
That's all confirmed, yeah.
Okay.
Dupree, Majisk, and Zonic all going to Vitality.
Oh, I did know that. I don't know why.
You did.
Yeah, we talked about it the other day.
We did. Yeah.
Ignore me. I'm dumb.
Drugs. You've been taking care of 2 kids by yourself.
Yeah, wife's out of town this week. Today was day number 1 of 4. This might be the last episode that we ever do because I might die by the time she gets back in town. So I guess that's also like as a NIP fan, you were hoping like, oh, maybe we see Astralis 2.0, right? Maybe NIP will become Astralis 2.0 when these guys leave Astralis. That's not the case. So yeah, it's kind of like now Device is kind of sitting there with his thumb up his butt thinking like, oh, where are we going to pull the talent from now? Right? Like if you have to improve, where do you pull the talent from?
Granted, they'll have options. It's just what are they willing to do after $1 million buyout for Device, right? Like
he was your option. Like he was the choice you made.
Yeah, and now you got to work around him. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I do think the way this team is configured at the moment, this is, in my mind, kind of the limit for them in this type of event.
Semis, you had Na'Vi defeat Gambit 2-0 and G2 beat Heroic 2-1. Anything?
And Na'Vi made that look easy.
Yeah. Like
Na'Vi made that look easy because I was texting one of my buddies before the match and I was like, hey, this is one you probably want to watch because Gambit knows how to compete with Na'Vi. They scrim all the time. They're both from the same region. They've beaten Na'Vi a handful of times, while Na'Vi has been a number 1 or 2 or 3 team. And then my buddy is texting me during the game and he's like this was the like you're an esports expert.
You sure you host an esports podcast? Because Na'Vi ended up defeating Gambit 16-8 on Overpass, 16-3 on Mirage. Completely embarrassed Gambit.
Well, look, Hobbit was their top performer at a 0.84 rating. That's very concerning because Hobbit's great, but you have Shiro and Axel there that have been your carries the whole year. And neither one of them even came close to showing up in that series. This could just be the power of Na'Vi, right? Like, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, Gambit's done, online was a fluke. Like, that's not the case. But, man, your 2 biggest stars, when I say underperformed, this is some of the worst Counter-Strike that they've probably some of the worst matches they've had in the last year for these 2 players. So, really, really disappointing that Gambit exits this way. But, I think we're still all happy with the outcome. And then G2 Heroic, I always felt pretty confident in G2 winning this, although it did take a overtime inferno match at the end to make this a possibility. And, we had like a couple of map points go both ways there. Like Heroic was making crazy comebacks. I mean, it was another typical Heroic effort from Heroic to get to this point, right? Because they were dead in the water and made a run on the CT side that had all of our hearts beating, and it took magic from G2 to even get it to overtime the way Heroic came back in that second half there. So, killer matchup. I mean, that was probably one of the best series of the event. Definitely one of the best matches there on Inferno. But I think the better team came out on top at the end of the day. Like I wasn't disappointed thinking, damn, Heroic, really, really deserved that. Like G2 looked awesome in that head-to-head series there.
There's another one where I felt like Nico just made so many different plays, right? Like it was just, you could tell that he was on a mission to get to the grand finals, which he did, where they met Na'Vi, lost 2-0 in haunting fashion. As I saw that post that you either tweeted or you put into our show chat, where this mimics the Cloud9 major, like round matchup for round matchup. It's like the same exact way he lost in Boston to Cloud9 in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, on Nuke, you're looking at what, like a 15-9, 15-10 score line for them to take this to a map 3. At that point, Na'Vi hadn't lost a map on Nuke in 17 straight games, and they're already the number 1 team in the world, and they have the number 1 player in the world. So you get a team on the ropes at 15-8, and you think, okay, G2 is going to be able to close this out. We're taking the finals to a map 3 on Mirage. Like, this is it. And Na'Vi just kept chipping away with a little bit of help from G2. Everybody's going to want to talk about the Nico whiff on the Deagle. Yes, that was a big play, but that was also at 15-12. They still had several other rounds to make a play to win it, and they couldn't do it. So that's not the only reason they lost, but it definitely helped, and was a tough moment for Nico. Because Tim, I know you're not a sentimental guy, but I gotta think even you feel for him a little bit, like after this event.
This was a tough one as for me, like just as a fan of Counter-Strike, because you had on both sides, you had Nico, which would have been awesome to see, right? Even though I know we've given him shit on the show many of times, but then you also have Simple on the other side. Like these are two players that both deserve a major, right? Like they're both good enough to have a major underneath their belt. They've been compared to with each other since the dawn of time. Both of them didn't have a major. It was almost like a running joke within the CS scene. So either way, one of them were walking away with one at the end of the day. I am happy that Na'Vi won because I've been saying that since like March that this was the year of Simple, and lo and behold, I was correct because it just, again, everything worked out for Na'Vi in this major, leading up to it even for the year. Like, it just worked out for it. I think you have kind of favor Simple winning it just because with him being on Na'Vi, like, yes, he's been on other teams, but he's been on Na'Vi long enough. He's had plenty of opportunity to leave. Nico's kind of jumped around a little bit with things not working out. But yeah, it does suck to happen in the same exact way because it's going to get reminded. Let me tell you what.
And then you add that shot on top of it.
I was about to say, Nico, if you're listening, okay, don't let people beat you up about this Deagle shot on Nuke with Simple on Hut. Like, don't let people beat you up on that one, because let me tell you what, that's literally every time I have the Deagle. It could be on the dude's chest, the biggest mass that I could shoot on someone, and my bullets are still whiffing with that gun. So the fact that people are like, oh my God, he missed the headshot. Now, albeit, he probably hits that shot 9 out of 10 times, right? That's probably the bigger deal here. But to miss that shot is such a crucial moment. Like it could have
back turned, everything. I mean, he played it so well. He made the perfectly timed flank where the guy in heaven had just exited heaven as he's going up the ladder. Like, everything was set up so perfectly to go to Mirage, and then he misses that shot. And now we know the end result from that, right? So there was a lot going on there. I do think Na'Vi would have waxed him on Mirage anyway. Navi is like a really good Mirage team, so I don't see that changing either way. But look, as good as Nico played, Tim, as good as Nico played, he had 52 kills over 2 maps. That's incredible, right? Like that's over a 25 average. Navi's second best player in Electronic came out with 53 kills in those 2 maps. And you have Simple after 2 maps, 72 and 41, Tim. 72 and
insane.
41 on Ancient. He was 32 and 17 on Nuke. Mind you, there was overtime. He had already posted a 30 kill game prior to overtime. But with overtime, 40 and 24. I mean, you say the year of Simple. This was the year of Simple. This was the tournament for Simple. This was Simple's time to leave his stamp in Counter-Strike. And I'm so happy not only did they win, but like they won on his back, as really it just needed to happen that way. That's been the flaw for Navi, is having to rely on him too much at times. But for them to get a major win and do it on, do it with Simple playing the way that he did, walking away with the MVP, easily the number 1 player for 2021 and probably the best player we've ever seen in Counter-Strike. I mean, even though he hasn't been rated number 1 every year, he has been consistently the best player that I think I've ever seen.
This was the only thing people had to say against him leading up to this point was, well, he doesn't have a major. Right. I mean, and somewhat rightfully, I mean, I feel like that's in any sport where if you don't have the trophy, the Dan Marino comments, right?
Dan Marino, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, there's a million of them that you can name, right? And they're still Hall of Famers, but it does make a difference to not have that on your resume.
It brings it up every time. You have a glaring hole in your trophy case that is where a major trophy should be, and now Simple can fill it. So no one can take that away from him. I'll tell you what, though, if you would have bet me 5 years ago when he joined the team that he would have been the only one from Flamey, Guardian, Edward, and Zeus to walk away with a major on Navi, like, that's, to me, insane. Like, just think of, like, the names that were there before him when Navi was, like, always considered one of the top teams in the world. And for him to carry, and I say carry the team because he plays out of his mind. He's nuts. But he does have a pretty damn good supporting cast with him. So, look, it's hard to be upset about this major. Like, it ticked off, it itched that itch that I think everyone was waiting for a major that we haven't had in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it really did, and this was, and all in all, a very good event, right? Again, take away some of the production stuff that we saw and some of those issues, like the Counter-Strike was really top quality Counter-Strike. Like, I was really happy watching these games. I was genuinely enjoying them, and we got a fantastic major. We got the winner that I think we both wanted. Tim, I'm going to brag about this. I went 7 for 7 in my pick'ems on the playoff stage, so didn't miss one. And I know people will say, hey, it was a little bit easier, but not everybody went 7 for 7. So I'm one of the ones that did, and I'll take it.
You got the diamond
coin. But really just...
And I want to feel like
happy for Simple.
We got the diamond coin.
Although
I didn't do pick 'em. I feel like
I know you would have picked the same thing.
I would have done it.
We would have talked amongst ourselves and probably came out with the same result here. But for them, like this was everything, man. This was Simple's, like, this might be the start of something even more special. They are not done. You want to talk about not being done? Talk about just getting started, because Bit, in his first year of Counter-Strike, has accomplished more than 10-year veterans have. He's earned a whopping, over 550K in his first year of Counter-Strike. He's won a major, which he was a massive contributor to. He was really the X factor on this team, and they have Perfecto, they have Boomich, like, these guys at their core are so young, and Simple is not showing any signs of deterioration, right? Like, I mean, honestly, he just looks like he keeps getting better and better each year. And so this could be a staple for a little while. And that one major and that one MVP, might not last too long on his HLTV profile.
No, so I'm excited for it. I guess we'll have to see when that next major is going to be, because I don't think anything's been officially announced. Normally they announce and they do the dealings and workings at these majors, but
Instead, this year they were just going to focus on which talent will be selected for the next major.
they're already
figure
arguing.
that out, and then we'll figure out the major
They're
stuff.
already arguing about it. So there you have it. Navi, Simple, finally getting friend of the show, Simple, right? Good dude. Also, because he's been on the show before when we've interviewed him at events and whatnot. Always nice to take the time out of his day. So we get to say that we knew him win. So there you have it. Good major, all that. And like we said earlier in the show, we have other big events, really just 2 big more events for the year. And those are even for like another month. And then that's it. And then we're probably not going to have anything typically till like February. So enjoy it while you got it, because we're heading into the dog days of esports for sure. All right. Let's get into some e-news to end off the show. Talked a little bit about it during that, but Astralis has announced that they are signing BlameF and Config after Zonic, Magisk, and Dupree all leave to join Vitality, as Shocks, Koijin, is that how you say his name? Kyojin, and their coach all leave as well. Anuj, can I say one thing here?
Go ahead.
NA free agency and EU free agency is a tad different, don't you think?
Well, NA free agency is looking like they're picking up like college dropouts that have never touched the game, where over here they're picking up people from like all-star games.
Like here's this is like the narrative when an NA team has a free agent and they sign someone. They're like, oh wow, okay, so this kid is 17, just dropped out of high school, but he's really serious about the game, and he's played a lot of FPL, a lot of S tier ranking. And you know what? He could be big. He could be big, and they're taking a chance on it. But this guy could be the next big guy. And then within 2 months, he's off of every roster. EU is like, why don't we just pick like 4-time major winners? How about we sign them?
Why don't we get people to have creds on the wall? You know?
Why don't we just do that?
In all honesty, though, if we were talking about just, did I hate seeing the core of the Astralis breakup? Yes, but I am excited about these rosters. Like I like the Astralis roster.
Yeah.
I don't think it's terrible. I think it's a little weird. I don't know what you do with like BlameF. I guess will not be calling then, and Glaive will be the strat caller on that team, and BlameF goes into more of just focusing on his play. But I do like that Astralis roster. Don't love it, but I like it.
If you were an Astralis fan and worried about your team when the people left, because it was all like the writing was on the wall, right? People knew. I would not be nearly as upset.
Yeah, you're not winning a major, another one, but you are going to be very competitive with this team, right? Until something blows up here. The team I would be worried about, Vitality. Vitality, although losing Shocks, I think hurts. I think this was the right move if they want to see if they can take it to the next level. Adding Magisk is one of the best players in the world. Dupree right there with them. Zonic, I think, is just more of a package deal. Although Zonic is amazing at what he does, I think this is a little bit of a package deal. And from what I hear, XTQZ, however you pronounce the name, if it's just letters that you say, doesn't speak any English. He only speaks French, so that's like a big reason for him departing. I do like this roster a lot, though. I think this Vitality roster can be real dangerous. I think you surround Zywoo with consistency, that could be a pretty dangerous combination. You start to look at that team a little bit Navi-esque, right? Like of just a lot of like good talent across the 5-man roster.
It's going to be I really hope that one that could be exciting. That could be a really, really fun roster to watch. A roster that, let's see here, talking about NA free agency.
Like, it doesn't even feel like we should have written it down now after talking about those two.
It's like you're
we
talking about
started with that.
Like this is like major. Now let's switch over to NA free agency as EG decides to kick Stanislaw, OBO, and Michu. And who are they gonna get? No, you
God
know.
only knows. Like
Who
they
knows?
don't know. How are we supposed to know? They're looking through the Rolodex also of FPLC to see who's about to
Yeah.
get ranked up. No, I mean, yeah, like EG. Look, what do you want me to say? Like Stanislaw is like recycled goods at this point. Sure, tell me what you want. He's a great in-game leader. Has amazing strat calling. He never won. Like he's never been good enough to like
he's
carry
such
his
a
team.
good IGL that he's never won.
Yeah, like he's got great plays. Great, go be a coach then. Like I don't know. I like Stanislaw, but he's never been exciting enough. So like I've never been that excited about a team either acquiring him or dropping him. It's whatever. Michu, that didn't really have much of a shot on this roster. OBO is kind of the one big deal here because we saw a really bright future for him, and it's still TBD. Did he make a mistake leaving complexity? Probably. Like he probably could have stuck that out a little bit longer. I know mental capacity at that point wasn't all there for him. Like he just didn't have it and wasn't into it because it was an EU team. But he may have just hurt his like long-term future by making that kind of decision. We'll see where he goes. He's going to have an opportunity. Still very good. Still very young. But none of this is surprising that they're resetting at EG. Like they don't know what they're doing yet.
No, but they did say that they're still wanting to invest in NA Counter-Strike, which is good. That makes me feel good. And maybe they listen to the show and think, you know what? That's what we need to do, is invest in NA Counter-Strike. That's the only way it's going to bounce back, is if you invest in it. In Overwatch news, some sad news coming here as Alarm, Philadelphia Fusion, Philadelphia Academy player. He's just been one of those guys, a rare one team guy, right? Like he's only been with the Philadelphia organization with the Overwatch League. Passed away November 7th at the age of 20. No real news other than that, but just completely random and so sad. So stay hard, Alarm.
20 years old, dude. That's
20
devastating.
years old. Back in South Korea, where he's obviously from, passed away. So sad
Rest
news.
in peace, dude. Condolences to the family.
In Valorant, Raucus, speaking of Overwatch League, Raucus stepped down from FaZe and signs with Sentinels as coach. It's also rumored, though, that Zachary is also open for other options and things like that. So we'll see where that goes. A little surprised on how fast that turnaround happened for Raucus.
I like how we say like steps down from FaZe. Like their asses weren't getting booted off of that roster in a week anyway. So sure, yeah, you step down from FaZe.
Can't fire me, I quit.
Step down from FaZe, and your next option is a coaching role for the #1 team in the world. Look, cool. I'm sure you can come up with some new stuff and maybe help them out a little bit, but just a random ass move to me.
It is weird. Now I will say I have shared a candlelight dinner with Raucus overlooking Brooklyn and the Statue of Liberty. Good dude. I feel like coaching might suit him best. Like he's very, just from my conversation with him, like very like analytical thought type of way. Like he's very easy to just have thoughtful conversations with. So, I don't know if that makes him a good coach, but he's a good dude. Linkser is also retired from Overwatch. She was Houston's top DPS for a long time while DPS were relevant in Overwatch League. He's decided to switch over to Valorant, so we'll see where he lands. I feel like the hype for Overwatch players coming into Valorant, or anybody coming into Valorant, is kind of like, eh.
What gave it away? The whole turnover on the whole FaZe roster? Like there's one team that dominated with Valorant play. I say dominated. One team that was dominated by Valorant players was the FaZe roster, and that roster is about to be dismantled. So
I don't know.
I think it's like, you see Spider on team. There's not many success stories. If you're trying to follow an Overwatch player that's come to Valorant and really killed it, Sinatra is your best bet, and he's, not the prime example that you want to use.
Poster
So,
boy you want.
yeah, like in between assaults, he is, been very
really
good.
Really good.
Alleged
assault. In FPS news, G2 teases out a Halo roster, which Halo is right around the corner. So probably time that you'll start seeing more and more teams that aren't part of that partnered, not league, but partnered group that they've announced, probably announcing teams.
If G2 was an NA org, that would be my team. I can't like make them my team because they're an EU org, and I'm not going to be able to root for them in a lot of instances, like when they play it.
Right.
You know,
I
team,
mean,
but-
if Envy does have a team, if you want to root for them still.
Who?
Envy. They have a Halo team. They got Pistola and
Oh,
stuff.
I know, but because of what they've done with this whole COD
You
situation,
can't trust them. You can't
I'm an
trust them.
all or nothing kind of guy, Tim. I can't like bounce
Trust
around.
me,
And so
I'm with you on that.
I
I'm with
just
you.
like, I don't know.
We'll get you a Halo team.
He's got a little work to do still. Okay, so we'll see where that goes.
We'll get you a Halo team.
But
Don't you-
G2 is a team I feel like I could really get behind because I love Carlos. Their teams are always competitive. They might have the roughest chokes that there are out there, but I'm a Cowboys fan.
I was gonna say
I can handle that shit. So
that's part of it. That's part of what making being a fan is fun.
yeah, like it is what it is. But that it's a fun
I feel-
organization.
I feel sorry for Astralis fans. I mean, 4 majors? How boring is that? Try losing some.
If I was Tashi and these guys over at competitive Halo or esports Halo side, I would be like sending out an invite very quickly to G2 of being a partnered team and find a way to make that happen because you have the support of a team like that. That is, are they a partner team? They might be.
Fnatic is. I know that was their EU presence. G2 is. Yeah, G2 is a partner team.
Okay, cool.
So there you go.
So
they're at least be involved, but you are right. They'll probably be. But I don't know, because Halo is not necessarily, like, I would say EU heavy, but maybe that's the step they're trying to take. So.
And they also don't need to be an EU franchise,
No.
right? Like when it's
I mean,
not
look
like,
at Liquid, right? Liquid's an NA, but EU in Valorant, NA in everything else. So.
Yeah.
In other news, Serena Williams partners with Cloud9 to kind of just be like a how do I say, like a mental coach, like telling them like how to deal with things mentally, the pressure, things like that. Fun fact, Serena Williams is married to a part owner of Cloud9. So if you thought that was a random
partnership, makes sense.
right, exactly. A lot of people were like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, not really. She's married to the guy. Also, one of the founders of Reddit. So,
Damn.
isn't that a weird? Would you ever pitch Serena Williams marrying a white guy who founded Reddit and part owner of an esports team?
No, but I like it.
Hey, man, that Boomage scenario is making a lot more sense, isn't it? Riot Games partners with Epic Games and will bring its titles to its store. So is this the Riot launcher?
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. I really don't know, and I kind of
I'll
would
tell
be
you.
okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me a reason to open up Epic Store other than registering a free game once in a blue moon.
Which even that I've really like died down on doing. I very rarely do that
sometimes.
anymore. It's
There's-
like, but I it would be one less launcher, so
That's
I'm
true.
okay with that if they do that.
So we'll see. If I have to have, if you're playing through Riot, or if you're playing through Epic, but then you like have to launch, like, you know, how people do that with Steam, that bullshit, where it's like you play a game on Steam, but then it opens Origins, and you're like, what's the point of this? If it does that,
That'd be annoying.
I'm out. And to end the show on sad news here, shout out, thoughts and prayers to Puckett. If you follow him on Twitter, you have seen lately that his mother was going through some illness and she was in hospice. Puckett announced that his mom, Linda Puckett, ended up passing away. Just quick shout out to Puckett. You know, he's never been on the show. He's out on my one Git list here, but I've talked to him a handful of times. I've played games with him. He's a real good dude. To me, a foundation pillar in esports, especially on the Halo side of things, like
Hall of Famer in esports for sure.
1,000%, 1,000%. So just, you know, shout out Puckett. Obviously sucks. Couldn't imagine it, but yeah, that's it.
I mean, you know, the good thing is, as I said, like following his Twitter over the last couple of weeks, I could see how much he loved his family, you know, and so he obviously wanted to be there with his mom during this time, and he seemed like a super supportive child. So they obviously raised him right, and it just sucks anytime you see, you know, I believe it was cancer take a loved one, or anything take a loved one. a lot of times your true colors can kind of come out during that time. And he, once again, continues to be a stand-up positive force in the esports community with his words. And so, yeah, thoughts and prayers to their family. That just sucks. You hate to see it. And good thing is it looks like they have a lot of support around them.
Yeah, 1000%. So there you have it. There is E-News. There is the show. It was a big one, an extra long one. We haven't done a long show like that in a long time, I feel like. But damn, Championship Sunday. Oh, fun fact, Championship Sunday. Normally there always has to be 3 championships in Nuge. We did have another esports champion. Kyle Larson, NASCAR champion. Who's Kyle Larson? Well, he might be the biggest esport of us all. Because he was
the racist guy.
He was the one who said the N-word while doing eNASCAR a couple years ago, was banned for a year, signed on with the team, won like 9 races this year, and he had an incredible year. So moral of the story is, I mean, Sadicus said the N-word, he gets to cast a major. He said the N-word, he wins a championship. Ninja said the N-word, he's like the top streamer.
Say it, Tim, go ahead.
I might.
Yeah.
Might mess around. See what happens. See what
We're
happens.
number 1. You can't do anything to make that even better. So
That's true.
you got lucky.
That's true. If you say the N-word in the middle of the forest, no one's there to hear it. Do you say it? So there you have it. There is the show, episode 363. It's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. Join us on Twitter @TheCenterRing. Join our Discord. Be a part of the conversation there. Thank you to Philly Esports for sponsoring the show. We will be back next time to talk more esports goodness. For Nuge, I'm Tim. We'll see ya. There you have it. All right, everyone in chat, love your face.
God bless, guys.
Peace out.